I'll I'll give a brief overview of PyScript. So we have this WebAssembly port, which used to be called the JavaScript port, and it targets it targets WebAssembly / WASM / JavaScript. So mscripting is used to compile MicroPython to something that you can load in the browser, basically, or you can load it in Node. And these days, JavaScript sort of as a backend has been replaced with WASM, which is quite good because it's much smaller and faster. So if you build MicroPython for WebAssembly, well, it's actually, so you've got this firmware.wasm here, which is, MicroPython built as WASM. It's large here because it's got asynchify enabled so that it can, you can pause the interpreter partway through the execution, give execution back to the browser, and then resume MicroPython later on. Doing that requires making the firmware very large because it inserts all the instructions to be able to pause and resume your code. If you don't have this asynchify, you can get this down to maybe 1/10 of the size or roundabouts. But yeah, anyway, so this is just MicroPython, which is able to run in a JavaScript environment. And one thing that it's being used for at the moment, Nicholas Tollervey, who works at Anaconda, is looking at using it in PyScript. So Anaconda developing PyScript, which is a way to use Python in the browser. So what I wanted to show you was a little bit of how that works. So we've built MicroPython here for WebAssembly, and we have the output is this sort of firmware.js and firmware.wasm. And we're going to load that into the browser so that it can run Python code in the browser. Now, Nicholas has written this simple PyScript sort of adapter code. So what this allows you to do is to write a PyScript tag in HTML or in XML. So you can see here, there's a new PyScript XML tag. And within that PyScript tag, you can write Python. And the idea is that that Python will execute. So the way that that works back here is you've constructed a new HTML element called PyScript and assigned that to this PyScript tag. And what happens when such elements are encountered is they execute this bit of JavaScript code here, which ends up bringing up a MicroPython runtime within JavaScript, initializing it, and then executing the code that was within that HTML element. So this code was obtained from the HTML element itself, and it's then sort of deleted, and then that code is executed. So the end result is anything wrapped in a PyScript set of tags has this text in between those tags pass through to MicroPython running as a WASM executable. And then the output, so anything that you print, is actually put back into, with this callback here, you can do whatever you like, but here it's put into a HTML or DOM element, so that the output you can see in the web page. So this is a sort of a simple proof of concept of how this would work, how you can define new elements and make them run Python. So let's run this now. Here's a browser. So I have a little web server, Python, you can see Python-m HTTP server. So because of CORS, we have to do this. So it's just running a web server, which will I just opened the console so you can see what's anything interesting going on. So it actually ran then when I opened it, and you can see it output hello world. So if I don't have anything in this PyScript tag, what will it do? So it'll do nothing. It's just PyScript output. That's just part of the basic HTML that I have here. And then anything that I put in here, so if I print hello, say twice, when I run it in the browser, you get hello world coming out twice, obviously. So we can now write basically any Python and it will run in the browser. So say, let's write hello name, oops. Maybe I wonder if this has got F strings. World. Oops, no, that's not how you do F strings. World I. Let's see if that works. Oh, no. Maybe we don't have F strings, or maybe I made a mistake. But let's try a string of I. I may have just missed a parentheses, but you can see now, so this arbitrary Python that we've written has printed out in the browser. Make that a bit bigger. So if you have a look at the HTML, it's just this code element here that we have, which is this this bit here, that's just been populated with our the output of what the Python code printed. And this PyScript tag down here is empty now. The actual Python code's been deleted. So you should potentially be able to do any arbitrary code here. That I guess F strings are not supported. That's why I didn't work. But yeah, you can make classes and like say str class A. So we can then do print A. So that should print class A at the bottom here. Yes. So that's actually that's printing that bit there. I am class A. So this is full sort of Python in the browser. I guess you can try and import something. I wonder what's available. We can print, say, print sys.platform. And if we had F strings, we could do something like this. I don't think we have F strings, do we? No. So the platform here is WebAssembly, which makes sense. So yeah, you can do pretty much any Python. The idea from here is to make it so that obviously you can interact more with the DOM. So here we're just printing out stuff and then inserting it into the web page. But ultimately, you'll be able to do something like import DOM and do, DOM related things, so that you can make your web page dynamic and the Python will actually be running that code. So similarly, so you want to be able to go both ways. Python can interact with the DOM and JavaScript, and then JavaScript can maybe call back into Python at the same time. So you could say on event, on click, you want to run some Python code. So then basically, yeah, you're implementing a web page using Python. And well, I guess the benefits of that is that if you know Python and you don't really know JavaScript, then you can be much more efficient at implementing your ideas in a web page. I know I don't really know JavaScript very well, so if I could use Python instead, I would be much more productive just because I'm familiar with Python, not because Python is necessarily a better language to use to implement a web page, but it's just something that I'd be very familiar with. I don't know, for example, how to split a string in JavaScript and turn it into a list and then put it in a dictionary and sort it and make a histogram or something. But in Python, I know how to do that well. So I think this would be very useful to be able to be more productive and using Python in the browser. Nicholas also has a demo of having a REPL in the browser, which is not too much more sort of, you can imagine if you can run Python commands like this, you can have a REPL where you can type in stuff. That's not, I guess, particularly useful to implement a web page in Python, but is another use case perhaps for certain things. So we have in the Discord, there's a WebAssembly section if you're interested to see a bit more and follow the discussion. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
Question. I don't think it does. Damien, the question was, does it write errors to the browser console? Like the browser's got its own, we can capture an error.
Yeah, that's what it wasn't doing before. This is a very simple proof of concept that would need to be like in this implementation of a PyScript tag, it would need to detect if it was an error, say, or have a special error callback, which would go to console.log instead. That would definitely be a big improvement. Before it was just dumping the output directly. Like I mean, here it's going to have a syntax error with the DOM. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, PyScript was announced at the last PyCon. It made a bit of a splash. And that was when it was bound to CPython. And there's a few reasons to bind it to MicroPython. And the key one, I guess, is that the interpreter can be a lot smaller. So
yes, I probably should have mentioned that. Yeah. Yeah, so the idea is to be able to use different backends. So MicroPython is one implementation that you could use to implement PyScript. And there are other ones like Pyodide, which is CPython. And yes, as Matt, as you said, the advantage of MicroPython is that it's smaller and faster to load and maybe faster to execute as well. So especially if it's a simple web page, but it obviously can't be used if you're doing really complicated stuff that you need something like NumPy, or something that you really want full CPython support. But I think for most cases where you're just implementing logic of a web page, MicroPython should be able to fill that use case really well. So yes, PyScript is not MicroPython, as in PyScript is this idea of running Python in the browser as and implementing web pages using it. And MicroPython is just one way which it can be implemented.
MicroPython everywhere, all the way from all the way down to the embedded space and everything in between, right?
Is maybe I should pass on to the next person then. I think otherwise I'll go on too long.
Sure.